But we haven't had a Vanessa Hudson. We haven't done that. We haven't done that yet. I'll have to throw that out to him as an option for the next one. Yeah,
That's hilarious.
He hasn't done that yet.
No.
But when I heard your reflections, I was like, okay, Vanessa's been in this space for a long time, like spirituality, whatever you call it. And I'd love to hear it through your language. I was like, oh, she's an evolved being. This is something she has invested in for many years before this. This is not her first meditation. This is part of her life. When did any of these ideas get introduced to you, and how do they exist in your world? Yeah. I'm genuinely fascinated because I don't think I know.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I've always been a meditative person. I remember I used to live in San Diego, and my parents would drive me up to LA all the time for auditions. And it's a long drive, it's like 3.5 hours. And I'm young. I'm probably like 8 years old, 9 years old. And I remember one time just sitting with the window down, like feeling the breeze on my face, just like clear mind, staring out, and my dad being like, "What are you thinking about?" And I was like, literally nothing. And then I think that as I got older, that moment for some reason would come back to me. And I was like, oh man, like, am I stupid? Like, does that mean that I have nothing going on in my mind? And then as I continued to evolve, the more that I realized that was a state of Zen, a state of peace. And like meditation practice is something that has naturally just like come for me. I feel like I started actually getting introduced to it when I was probably 16. I was in Brazil. This was like after High School Musical had come out, and me and Zac Efron were dating, and we went to this island like in Brazil somewhere, and it was a magazine, and they were like, we can offer you yoga classes if you want. And I was like, I've never done that. Like, I'd love to try. I'm always down to try new things. And I remember it was like outside under this canopy of trees. And it was like the first time that I feel like I had a mindful practice where I was like aware of what I was actually doing. And I just became hooked. I remember I was like, straight off the bat, I was like, I think I need to become a yoga instructor. I think that's just something that I need to do
One
now.
yoga class. Yeah.
Literally, I was like, I'm sold.
Yeah.
And then I think that like that really led to like mindfulness and like practice. And then when did meditation actually come into play? Honestly, probably Deepak Chopra.
Yeah, Deepak's great.
Yeah, I feel like I came across like an audio something of his on meditations. And I remember doing that and just being like, oh, wow, there's like so much here, and like noticing how it affected my everyday life and just my state of mind. And yeah, it's like, I feel like the sit down to actually meditate doesn't fully happen that often, which is why I love our Zen zone, because like it gives me a reason to actually do it. But the state of mindfulness, I think, is something that is carried into so many different aspects of spirituality. And spirituality itself has been like such an evolving journey for me. I mean, I remember how old was I? I was filming Journey to the Mysterious Island. And I was on the big island where they shot Jurassic Park. Yeah. And so it's just like beautiful rolling mountains. It's like stunning. And I remember thinking to myself like, oh, like I am spiritual because I can't like relate anymore to religion practices that were instilled with me as a child, but like I feel so much, and I know that I'm a part of something bigger, and I feel like vibration of the land, and I just feel connected to spirit. And then that itself has evolved so much. And like, I feel like I'm back at that place where I'm like, I am very, very spiritual. I take time to connect to my spirit, but also spirit around me. And I make sure I take time to connect to nature, and I give praise when magic happens, because it happens all the time, and I feel like it's so important to acknowledge it and to give it gratitude, because then it starts coming into your life so much more. It's really insane once you start acknowledging them, how like it's an abundance of magic.
Wow. Wow, that's contagious. I'm literally hearing you say that and I'm like, that is so infectious.
It's so true though. Yeah. And like, it's so beautiful because then you're filling your life with like these moments of wonder.
Yeah.
And like, I think that's so important as an adult, because as children, we have that all the time.
Yeah.
But like, as you grow up, you kind of forget how important it is to have that.
Yeah.
I'm like such a big kid.
Yeah.
That like, she's always like a child at heart.
Yeah.
But like, wonderment, I think, is something that's so important for the soul.
I couldn't agree more. Yeah. I love that. And I think when I think about wonder and childlikeness, it's the same as what I feel my wife's brought back into my life.
Love that,
and I felt for so long I started to take life too seriously, or I was very focused. And
man needs a good woman to bring him back.
Absolutely, 1,000%. And my wife has just brought this like childlike energy back into my life.
I love that.
And it's something you have to protect.
Totally.
I feel like the childlike energy is something you have to nurture and protect in yourself, in the people you love.
Totally.
In the people around you.
Even your inner child. Like, I remember that being like a big wake up moment for me. I think it was in like Larry Moss's acting classes. Mm-hmm. I was doing like one of his intensive workshops, and he talks about how important it is to like nurture your inner child, because we all have that. We all have that like little boy or girl inside of us that's like kind of scared at times, but is like so explorative and like has wonderment, but you have to nurture that. Yeah. And if you don't, like it gets neglected.
Yeah.
And you can't neglect your inner child.
Definitely not. Definitely not. Do you think that nurturing that inner child is what has helped you navigate a very tough industry, or what has that been? What has helped you?
I feel like that's definitely part of it.
Yeah.
For sure. Mm-hmm. Because it allows me to stay extraordinarily passionate about my loves, which is like everything, like in my work and in my life and in the way I spend my time. But I think the thing that honestly has kept me going is accepting change and evolving and knowing that evolution is like a positive thing, and leaning into the like scary things that like could hurt me, and like just constantly reevaluating what it is to be a human in this experience, and like, who do I want to be? Yeah. Because like, that's genuinely like a choice. We have so many choices every single day on like how we build our character, how we present ourselves to the world. And like, I feel like I've had multiple moments where I've had to like really look at myself and reassess and say, what kind of woman do I want to be?
Yeah.
And like, who am I truly? Like, what is my core? What are my values? Mm-hmm. And I feel like it's just allowed me to feel really confident and strong in who I am as a person. Because I think that's where a lot of people have difficulties in Hollywood, because you end up like morphing into different people, because it's a tough grind.
That it's hard to remember your own, I guess. What was a formative experience at a younger age that you think has given you a sense of groundedness as you've gone on? Were there any formative experiences as you grew up, at any point in your childhood or early teenage years?
I don't know why. I don't know if this is like actually at all relevant.
The first is the best.
Yeah. I was the kid that loved playing in the dirt.
Cool.
I was always the kid that was like in the garden, like grabbing like pieces of plants and like smushing them together and like having the flowers and like doing like little collages in the dirt. Like, I've always like I feel like I've always felt very connected to earth. But yeah, like I feel like I also was raised in a way where like my parents didn't have a lot. My dad was a firefighter. My mom was from the Philippines, like came out to the States when she was 24 with my dad. And it was like the first man she'd ever even been with, like first guy she ever kissed, like crazy. But I was raised very modestly. So I think that like that definitely shaped me into who I am, because I'm very mindful about like where I spend my money and like what I'm doing with it, and like but like it also I think makes me work harder and want to do the work myself, do the dirty work. Hey, was bringing it back to the dirt.
I love it.
But yeah, like because that's just like my character. That's how I was raised.
Yeah, that's beautiful to hear. And what has given you strength to believe that they have an impact? Is it something you feel? Is it something you've heard? Is it a connection? Like how do you go, yes, this works for me, this matters in my life?
I feel like it's such an intuitive thing.
Yes.
And like I said, I was the little girl playing in the dirt,
so
mushing up herbs.
Connected.
And it does. It feels really grounding and connecting to me. And like I've manifested for years, and like if you're very clear and intentional on what you want, you have a much better chance at getting it.
Can you tell us a manifestation story? Can you tell us one that you feel is worth sharing?
I mean, like even like Cole, like I was very clear, very intentional about what it is exactly.
Tell us what you're intentional about. I want to know.
It's like I was like, I want someone who. Oh man, I wish I literally have like a list.
Okay.
It was, I want someone who loves themselves wholeheartedly, someone who understands the importance of like having a good time, someone who has like the right priorities in life, you know, like has the same fundamentals as me, which is like you don't live to work. No. You don't live to work. You work to live.
Yes.
Yeah. Like someone who understands like the importance of life outside of work. There's a whole list.
What I love about your list though, and that's why I asked you, because I expected that your list, that is the most mature, refined list I have ever heard of.
Thank you.
Because most lists do not go that deep. Like that is a very genuinely, and I'm not saying this to flatter you at all. I'm genuinely saying it because I hear a lot of lists in my coaching work and when I'm with clients and over the years, people that I've worked with, and lists. Those are all like incredible attributes which show your self-awareness of who you are and what you need in your life.
Yeah.
But they're also not so specifically defined that it's kind of very difficult that exists, if that makes sense. It's not like I want this and I want that and he should have this. It's not stuff about he should have.
No.
It's about his mindset and his belief system. But we're so scared of showing that side of ourselves to someone, of being like, this is what I need, or
and
this
like
is what I want.
Honoring our truths.
Yes.
I think like it's so easy to disregard our truths when you like have a thought and you're like, oh, like I wish that this would happen, and like, but no, like it shouldn't matter. Like it's okay, it's fine. I don't really care. And like you don't honor your truth. And so I feel like it's something that you have to be actually mindful about, and to like really listen to your intuition and like your inner voice, your inner child. Like you really have to like honor all of yourself, because if you're not, then you're suppressing yourself, and then it's going to seem okay for someone else to suppress you because you're doing it to yourself.
Yes. Wow. That's so true.
Yeah.
That is so true.
And then that's just like a toxic. It starts off toxic.
Absolutely. And that's the point, right? It's like if you plant a toxic seed,
exactly,
like that's what's going to grow.
Yes.
And it's really hard to then switch to a rose bush or to grow a beautiful tree or plant or whatever it is. Like, by the way, for anyone who doesn't know, he'll join the meditation when he's like on the field, like he'll be like in the stands, he'll be walking to a game, like he'll be driving to a game, whatever it is, and he's always on. And I think there's so much to be said for that as well, to find people in places of similar values.
100%.
Like I've always been a great encourager of that, is that you're going to find people when you're doing things that you're both passionate about
100%.
and you're not going there to date. Like,
it's so funny. I literally was on the phone with my friend Vince this morning and I was thinking about it and I was like, it's so funny because I feel like all my best relationships have like such an interesting like story as to how we met. Like my friend Vince, who I was on the phone with, we met in a yoga class.
Wow.
And he's like one of my best friends. My other best friend, Gigi, we met like in Bali because I was there with Oakley, like doing a surf thing, even though I'm not a surfer, but I'm like, you know, I'm all about like trying new things and having new experiences because I feel like it builds character and it's also just like a great time.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
But like, it was like one of those moments as well. And then like me and Gigi sat across from each other at the table and we like locked eyes and we were like, I see you. I see you in a way that's like different. Like my soul sees you.
Yeah.
And like, it's just so many of my relationships. I'm like, it's just so funny how like you put yourself into the right place in a place of love and you will attract it.
Yeah, definitely. And this is Gigi you do workouts with, right?
Yes.
Yes. That's
Me and Gigi do a lot of things together.
Yeah.
We got a lot of things in the work. During quarantine, we like really put our minds together and we're like, let's be creative. Like let's keep the ball rolling. And we developed an animated show. We developed like a reality show for ourselves.
Oh, very
and
cool.
we like wrote a feature with our friend and we were just like, yeah.
That's amazing.
I know, but like all because we sat across from each other in Bali.
That's incredible. And I love that that's a recurring pattern in your life.
Oh, completely.
That the deepest relationships you have, whether it's Vince or Gigi, as you said, and now Cole, that they've come from these places where you weren't looking for that.
Yeah.
And so I think we often hear this idea of like, you don't have to look for love. And that's not what we're saying. What we're saying is that you often find it in a place of mutual value.
When you're loving yourself and honoring yourself.
Yeah. That's happened with a human.
Oh my gosh. The amount of stuff that happened to me when I went to Paris for Fashion Week on my own was like, just what? I felt like I had tea for months. But like, it was just so cool because I'm like, Paris Fashion Week is something that I wanted to go to for a long time. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to go on my own because like, it'll really like put me in there.
Yeah.
And I love that. Like, I love those solo moments where I'm just like out there in the wilderness on my own and like you meet people and like connect with people. And I'm like, some of my favorite memories that I've had like have been because I've gone places on my own.
Wow. It's like, I feel like your whole life is an experience. Like you're like, oh, I went to Fashion Week because of this and I was in this place because to have deep memories, you have to be deeply present.
Totally.
Because otherwise you forget where you were last week or where you were even yesterday.
Totally. I've always been a very present person and I think that I've positioned myself now, like it's taken so many years of like reflection and growth and like doing all the uncomfortable work to shape me into the person that I am. And I look back and I'm like, I'm so grateful for all of it. I'm so grateful for all the icky times because there's a lot of icky times in life. But like by leaning in and like not putting them into like a storage unit in my mind, but like actually processing them and like growing and evolving from it has allowed me to like have confidence in myself because I'm just like, I know that I'm enough. Like, and I'm like, I know that like my point on life is beautiful. And I know that like what I want to contribute to people and to the world is beautiful. And so I'm like, it's all good, babe. Like, it's all good.
Yeah. And that's the thing, right? Like when you make sense of your inner world on your own.
Totally.
That's where it has to click.
100%. Because if it clicks for me, then like it's okay if it doesn't click for everybody.
Yes.
But like I know that like I'm locked in.
Yeah. How are you prioritizing, making time to do all of that? Like what works for you? Because I'm sure there's a lot of people going, oh wow, like, you know, Vanessa's doing a ton of stuff. I mean, she has new movies coming out. She's doing this and she's doing this and she's building this. Like, how do you make sense of doing so many different things? And how do you balance it? Because you're still working out. You're still doing your own personal practices. How are you balancing and managing that all?
I think it's about like really honoring my needs and like having a strong priority list. I feel like right now I'm being very clear and intentional with my career in acting. I'm not doing anything unless like it pushes me in a new way, challenges me in a new way, or it's with people that I can work with that I like really respect and I know will help me evolve and grow. Otherwise, I'm like, I only want to be doing things that like I'm producing because then I'm like, I have like a say on the story and like the way that it looks and like the way that it's shot. And, like, you know, like I can be like so much more creative to like the overall outcome of the movie because a lot of times like so many things end up on the cutting room floor and like that's fine, but you're like, you watch it and you're like, oh, they went with that take, interesting. And you've like no say over it.
Yeah, and that's hard. It's hard. Yeah, it's
tough.
Really hard.
But like I'm like, as a producer, I like can come in and like can help like build out projects and like I can actually dream them up myself and like bring them to the table and like find producers that I really respect and admire and like use their minds to like snowball with and see how we can work together to bring it to life. And I just feel like it's so much more fulfilling for me as an actress to be able to be a part of that creative. Which is why I'm like, one day I will direct because I'm like, it's something that I love so much, and I'm like making sure that I have my me time, which is hard because I feel like the me time also funnels into like my relationship because that is what I want. Like I want to be with my partner. But I'm like also my work, I feel, also drives my slight me time too, because I'm like, I'm here in LA. I'm not with him at the moment because I have things that I'm doing here, and like my Fabletics collection is coming out in April, and I'm like, that is something that I like designed myself. That's like amazing. Another full creativity step. But I'm like here, and I like get to talk about it, and like I feel like it's just so, like I said, so nice to have these things that I'm like putting a lot of myself into and being able to talk about them and like share them with others. And like, hopefully that connects me with other people who are like-minded as well, you know?
I'm sure there's lots of people listening and watching going, oh, I can be everything I want to be. Like I can.
You can.
Yeah, it's
you
okay.
Can.
Yeah, it's okay. Like it's
totally.
not, you know, we don't have to choose anymore, and you don't have to limit yourself.
You can be everything, and that was like a big wake up call for me. I was like, no one is one thing. Like we're so allowed, and like it should be celebrated to be as many different things as you can be, as long as they're honest and truthful and like coming from within, not from an idea of what you think you should be doing.
That's it.
Yeah.
Vanessa, you've been so generous with your time.
I'm like, I could sit here and talk forever.
I mean, I can continue talking for hours. I know you've been traveling. I know you've been moving around. I know you're catching up. So I want to express to you so much gratitude from my heart. Thank you. And
we all do.
Send those witch energies out. But we end every On Purpose episode with what we call the final five. These are 5 fast questions that have to be answered in 1 word to 1 sentence maximum.
Love it. Yes.
You can take your time to think about them, but the answers are tired. So, all right. So the first question is, what is the best advice you've ever received or heard?
In this moment of my life where I am, just honor yourself.
That's great advice. We've never had that before on the show. That's great advice.
It's a good short sentence too.
It is. It's beautiful. It's easy to remember.
Yeah. It's because I feel like it's so easy to not in so many different aspects. And it's like, if you actually do, then like you can like live your truth. And that's what we're all trying to do, right?
I love that. Question number 2. What is the worst advice you've ever received or heard?
Like maybe always say yes.
That's good.
I feel like saying yes can like definitely be a wonderful thing, but I think it's what you say no to that shapes your character.
That's great advice. I really like that. That's beautiful. See, this is good. It's good. I like it. Yeah, the stillness is good.
It takes a sec.
It does. It does. Okay. Question number 3: how would you define your current purpose or the current impact you're trying to have in the world? And so it is.
To spread joy. Honestly.
Yeah.
I feel like I have an abundance of it. So I'm like, if I can share it, that's like the most beautiful thing I can offer.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. All right. Question number 4. What's the first thing you do in the morning and the last thing you do at night?
Oh, God, I hate my answer. But if I'm going to answer truthfully, it's probably like, well, it depends on where I am.
Yes. Okay.
Like if I'm with Darla, I like just find her and like hold her.
A little cuddle,
Yes, have a little cuddle and like... I think I'm a big like deep breather in the morning, like get back into breath, but like check my phone.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, that's fair.
But it also like depends like on if I'm on my own or if I'm with Cole.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, if I'm with him, then it's like, my first thing is like, gratitude and just like love. If I'm on my own, I'm just like, okay, what do we got, Vanessa?
It's beautiful. Thank you for the honesty, but I also like the mix of answers. All right, 5th and final question. If you could create one law that everyone in the world had to follow or one habit that everyone had to do every day, what would it be?
Think before you speak.
Oh, wow. That was quick.
I don't know if that's like that's just the first one that pops into my mind.
No,
but like it's I feel like we all could navigate through life a bit better if we really stopped to like really think before we spoke and be impeccable with your word.
Yes.
I'm just going to go into the 4 agreements real quick. Don't mind me.
Great book. Yeah.
Great book. Changed my life.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like, I don't know, I'm such a lover. And it really bums me out when people get into arguments and they say things that they don't mean because they're not thinking before they speak. And like the miscommunication that comes along with it. It's just like, it's heartbreaking to me when relationships can be like just deeply tarnished in those moments of like heightened emotion.
Yeah. Just because we didn't
pause.
You're so right.
Yeah.
I love how you show up in the world, and I'm so grateful that I get to know you. So thanks, Vanessa.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.